3, 2, 1, go. Welcome to Grounds After Rounds.
All right. We'll count it in. Here we go. 5, 4, 3, 2. Eric usually does this. I'm still counting. We're in. Welcome to Grounds After Rounds, folks.
Oh boy.
You nervous?
I wouldn't say so. I think it's more of an oh boy of like, dang, I feel like I've I wouldn't say envisioned, but I've thought about this for a while. I'm a long time listener. Okay. I'm a long time listener.
It would be.
Sure. I'll go with that.
Our impressive studio made up of my computer, the camera, and the microphone.
Yeah.
Folks, we are joined by Hugh Michalski-Cooper. So do you still go by Hughie? Do you introduce yourself as Hugh?
I introduce myself as Hugh, but I think most people who have known me for longer than 5 years just call me Hughie. So I don't really care. It's not, I'm not too pressed about it. So,
and then are you part of the cohort that does the middle name, nickname?
No,
Alec gets Paul.
Alec does Paul.
Dylan
started that.
Which stuck. That has stuck.
You see, it's because his first name is 2 syllables and his middle name is 1 syllable, so and so it's just easier. For me, it's the opposite. My middle name's Thomas, so it's like it doesn't really work.
Yeah. And we already have a Tommy.
Yeah, exactly.
So there wasn't going to be
that doesn't really pan out too well.
True.
So, yeah.
No, and the HT, if you were just Cooper, HTC, it would be kind of a cool. That's what we did a lot growing up. The 3-letter acronyms. Though JPR for me never stuck.
Yeah.
But I had my buddy Andy, he was AER. Rob Raymond was R squared. So those types. You know what I mean? That's some of the nicknames that permeated through.
One of my teachers called me HTMC for a while.
That actually does sound kind of cool. HTMC.
But it was just kind of, I don't know. It's just a little convoluted, So, I don't know. That didn't stick for too long, but it's definitely a lot better than I think it's funny because Hugh is I feel like it's a very straightforward name. Mm-hmm. You'd be surprised the amount of people that have called me Huggaha or Hug, just Hug. Or,
when they saw your name.
Yeah, like substitutes.
Were they that's
no, literally
have you seen that Key and Peele?
D nice.
Yeah.
It's exactly what it was.
Aaron. Don't you get, I will go, whatever he says. Yeah. Jake Quellen.
Oh my goodness.
Hugo.
And I think the most common one is when I'm saying it, it's just people think it's just you. So they just say you, which is that's definitely the most common one.
I could see that. I could understand that because they just mishear it. But oh my goodness. Yeah. That's really funny.
I think that was in 5th grade. She was like, is Huggaha here? I'm like, I don't know.
I think that's me.
I think so. Yeah.
Well, I'm happy to have you on board, buddy. And Big E had a conflict this week, but as I said before we started hitting record, serendipitous because you've got an event coming up that we are assisting with, the gym is assisting with, and I was excited to be able to have you on to talk about it and kind of dig into some of the details. So I think jumping right into that would be probably useful, and then I'll loop us back around and kind of why you chose us and kind of those types of things. But so what's up? What's happening on the 20th of November?
So on the 20th, we're having a community workout here at Fairwinds CrossFit from between 7 and 9 a.m. and that's going to be for Gigi's Playhouse Annapolis, who is they're just a wonderful organization who do so much for not only the Down syndrome community, but for just so many different groups of individuals who are misrepresented, and just getting awareness for them and supporting them through whatever they may be going through. And this whole project really, it stems from the personal project, which your boys have, I'm sure, brought it up to you.
Yes. So what is the personal project?
So the personal project is, it's technically, I would put it in air quotes, as a requirement for 10th grade students. There's a little bit of an asterisk on that, right? So for IB students, which I'm an IB student, I'm in the IB program over at Annapolis High School.
And IB is International
Baccalaureate. Basically for us, it's a requirement to graduate. And we are getting graded on it as part of our English grade.
Okay.
But from what, I'm not 100% sure on this, but from what I've deciphered from my many intertwined conversations regarding the same topic, for PVA students or Gen Pop students, it's not a requirement to graduate, nor does it go towards like an English grade or affect your GPA.
So what we, as the parents of said Gen Pop children or students in 10th grade at Annapolis High School, it is a requirement.
Yes.
And this is the sticky subject, or the sticky part of this, because which I find absolutely awesome that you guys are doing. I love the project. I love the idea behind it. But it's integrated into your curriculum.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Like you've been given time to work on it. You've been given direction.
Yep.
I asked Josh, like, what's the project? I don't know. I haven't even gotten anything. Like, I'm like, well, have you gotten an email? No. I'm like, well, how do you know about it? I had Hugh send me the stuff that he's gotten, and I'm working off of that.
Yeah.
But what we found out from parents of students who have already gone through an app, they do have to do it, and it is a requirement.
Oh,
but like you said, it doesn't go towards any grade or GPA.
Yeah.
Okay. It's sort of like you check, you know what I mean? Like it's a check the block sort of thing.
Yeah.
So the opportunity to do it is, and I think again, and now this is just speculation, for Annapolis to call itself, like if you call the Annapolis High School and they pick up the phone, they're Annapolis High School, we are an IB school, something. For them to be able to say that, I have a feeling somewhere there is some sort of requirement that they have 100% participation.
There is,
in something like this.
And the IB coordinator for 10th grade students is the IB personal project coordinator, who that I think that could be, has a potential to be a separate body, because it's not extremely intertwined with the IB program itself, but the IB coordinators are coordinating the IB project.
Gotcha.
So
that would be my guess of why, regardless of whether you're in the IB program or not, the personal project is required of all Annapolis High School students. But for you all, it actually is part of a graded thing.
Yeah.
So great segue, good setup. It's like you're a professional or something. What does that entail? Like, walk us through kind of what the life cycle of this project, what's its intent, which will help kind of then maybe figure up, for me to get an understanding why you chose to do it in the manner to do it with this community event supporting Gigi's Playhouse.
Yeah, so it all started, I think the beginning was June of last year. It was introduced to us. We had no idea.
June of 21 or
of 21 of this past school year.
So freshman
year,
June, as you were finishing freshman year, June.
And I think that was only for IB students. They took them in the IB classes.
You are correct. We didn't find out about until like September or August.
And so in the IB, they took in the IB classes, Mr. Kohler, who's the IB coordinator, or the personal project and IB coordinator, popped in some of the virtual classrooms and just kind of gave his presentations and all that and explained it. And so that happened. And an event like this was actually one of the first ideas that popped into my head.
Okay.
But
if you were to kind of like two sentence it or one sentence, what is the intention of this personal project?
I'm not very good at 2-sentence answers, but and my English teachers know that very well. But
we're a long form podcast.
So. Pretty much it's just something, its primary intent is to promote some kind of community building, community wellness. That's more of an underlying aspect. The main thing is to choose a personal subject that interests you and to make a project out of it. As an example, you have this one where it's an event. A kid made a program. Some people started a podcast,
like a computer program.
Somebody wrote a book. Somebody made their own homemade violin.
Oh wow.
Somebody planted a garden, started a camp for basketball, like for little kids. Somebody started a food drive at the Lighthouse shelter, and something additional on that. It's pretty much anything, just a subject that interests you personally, that you choose to do something with. And in that, the whole idea is it's not necessarily required to make community. And like I said, it's not necessarily a requirement to make community change. It's more about the process of developing an idea, incorporating it, and reflecting upon it.
That's cool.
And that's the whole thing about it. So there's a part A and a part B and a part C, and that's the kind of nitty gritty kind of assignment portion of it. And so, you have your planning phase, which runs from the end of June to October 10th, I want to say ish.
Or a car ride home from school. That was the planning phase for Josh, for Joshua and Matthew.
There's nine assignments in that, and then however many assignments in the part B, which is the action phase, which runs between the end of the planning phase to December 3rd, and then after that is the reflection portion, which runs from December 3rd all the way up until March, where we'll have I think it might just be for IB students, but we have some kind of poster board thing that we kind of present.
You'll create like
similar to like
one slider, sort of,
kind of like how you did with the science fair, kind of like foldable things. It's kind of like that.
So it's all, in all honesty, this is a very similar process that undergraduate students do for a capstone for a major, where they'll have a capstone project. Whatever the discipline is, they usually plan it during the junior year, execute it through their first semester of their senior year. And if it's humanities, maybe it's a research project where they dig deeper into an author or a theme or a period. If it's a science or STEM type thing, maybe it's an actual research project where they ran an actual experiment or something. And then it culminates in poster day, where, and a lot of times, and this is kind of funny, not funny like haha, but some of those projects, especially the STEM ones, and especially at the Naval Academy, have been sponsored by large industry. And so large industry wants to come and see what their greenbacks have funded. And so the students sort of become the show ponies for the institution. They look pretty in their uniforms, and there they are standing in front of their poster. Look at what my mitochondrial did, blah 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 did when I did my steam engine wing Bernoulli's principle, and I made this thing float. So the process you're describing and what your experience, like what we're doing, what we've been doing for the last couple months, it's so cool. You are going to see that over and over and over again.
And I think that that's another reason why they did it, especially in 10th grade, is just to have those skills for those 3 levels, and that reflection and that planning. And I think another big component is time management, is what they really emphasized.
You can't wait until December 2nd to do the planning and execution in the same day. Well, no. I planned from 6 in the morning till 12 in the afternoon, and then I executed from 12 to 6, and I'm done. If they say you wait to the last minute, it only takes a minute. Have you ever heard that before?
I've not. That's a good line.
You can overuse it as I have.
And that's
the procrastinator.
That's actually one of the examples. The capstone project was one of the examples they gave for us. So
like a Naval Academy capstone project.
So that was it's not Mr. Kohler, but one of the somebody who was helping out with personal project, just kind of there, not an official advisor, but just someone who was there, did the capstone project. And,
Gotcha.
they were kind of like, this is similar to that, you're going to do this in college, if you go to college, and like that other things. And yeah.
So you initially pitched it to me, but I'm curious, what was and you said, an event like this, and a community event, a WOD, something that brings people together. What were the catalysts for that idea for you?
I think the first thing that really sparked something, even before the project was introduced in itself, was the Dancer Love Foundation that Sam Dancer has been doing in the CrossFit space. And Sam
Dancer, for those, I mean, there's probably about a half a dozen people who listen that instantly know who he is. But and for the rest of them, the other 4 people,
he is
including
the
my mom,
very, very strong CrossFitter who is also technically legally blind.
That's right.
And
I always forget that.
And he, pretty much, if you know him in the CrossFit space, you just know him as the really, really, really strong guy.
Yeah, and he's kooky. And wears like cut off jeans to work out in. And he's kind of that crazy hair, crazy guy, crazy strong, but like big old bear sized heart.
He's just a big old teddy bear, really. And so his foundation, Dancer Love, was they support special needs individuals with he has a buddy, best friend, who works out with him
I can't remember his name
either. But they've done stuff, and then they partner with Matt Frazier and a couple other people on an event called the Able Games, which I watched a video about, I want to say back in April-ish, near the time quarterfinals were going on. So that happened. I was just like, man, like, I feel like I would want to do something like that. Like, because they had, so many people that are representing such, an underserved, represented population of individuals, and they're providing them like, such a unique experience that it's very hard to find. And just like that community aspect of bringing, I think what CrossFit does so well is bring so many different people from so many different backgrounds and so many different communities together. And so when I saw that, it was just like, man, like, I feel like I would want to do that, like something like that.
Cool.
And then when the personal project came up, I was like, oh, you know what? Like that could happen. And at first, I'll be honest, I wrote it off. Like, I was just like, no way. Like, logistically, there's absolutely no way I'll be able to do this. How am I going to do this? I won't have time to do it. I thought I would be, I just thought it wouldn't work. Like, just straight up thought it wouldn't work. But it was a matter of choosing something. Like, I knew I didn't want to do something that would, with all the free time I had this summer, I knew I didn't want to do something that was just going to be, it would be easy. Mm-hmm. And I knew I didn't want to do that from the start. I knew I wanted to do something that would be difficult. And for me, this was that challenge. And for me, this was that, I wouldn't say test myself isn't the right word, but really just to challenge myself and to do something that I couldn't have thought I would have been able to do before. And it was kind of that prospect. I was just like, I know if I didn't do it, I would always regret not doing it.
Right.
And I think that this, we've talked about serendipity, however much this is that serendipitous timing, you guys needed a fall event, this came up, the personal project came up. I'm a sophomore. It's a personal project. I saw that video. I wanted to do something like that. It worked out, pretty perfectly. And I spent a lot of the summer, in the free time that I had, well, a lot of it was spent diving into the CrossFit Level 1 handbook. But another good portion of that was spent, figuring out how we were going to do this. And,
So Eric, in one of our previous episodes, we did a series where the nano meets the road.
Yeah.
And in episode 2 or act 2, he talked about the wall of awful. And as you were talking there, I immediately was like, like there, you listed out, without specifically listing them, already 2 or 3 walls of awful that could have immediately derailed this. And one you left unspoken, and I have to ask because it's
okay.
And we'll get maybe we'll get to where I was thinking we'll go to or not. But why did you have so much free time, Hugh,
that is a
over the summer?
great question. That is a great question. Yeah, so a little before Thanksgiving. Well, I'll start off with this. Over quarantine, it was a lot of me, right? It was me, my ego, right, and my home gym, and they were best buddies, all three of them. Oh, and then you had on top of that a whole lot of free time.
Yeah.
Over quarantine. And when you do that and you couple that with a 14-year-old boy who wants to look good, right, as one, who also wants to perform good, two, who most oftentimes doesn't train with a coach around them when they're at home, and who does way more than everybody else tells them to.
Mm-hmm.
And you got yourself a little bit of a recipe for disaster. And so it was a little, I was doing Fairwinds on top of like whatever programming.
Like
I was coming here. I wasn't telling them what I was doing at my house, but I would usually get in another session earlier, and it would be, heavy lifting. And in all honesty, I didn't really know, like I wasn't following a program. I wasn't following percentages. I was just doing all that. And a little before Thanksgiving, I felt a little something in my back, my lower back. It was just a little, it was almost like it was, if your back was ever sore, for anybody who did the 17.1 repeat this year, I'm sure your lower back was sore. That's kind of what it felt like for most of November into early December. Right. And so that
little switch that comes up for most of us.
Yeah.
Says, this isn't good.
And so I was just like, you know what?
Nah, I'll just work it out.
Yeah. I hit a clean and jerk and snatch PR in that time.
Yeah.
And obviously without telling not even my parents, not even siblings, anybody. I didn't tell anybody about it. I kept it to myself. I didn't want to complain about it, whatnot. And so I just kept training through it, and it eventually came up to Christmas Day, or no, the Monday following Christmas, right? And I went outside, and I had something. I was going to do back squats that day, right? But I couldn't do back squats. I just couldn't. My back was hurting too much, and so I did box squats instead, because it was the bottom of the squat that was hurting. So I did box squats at like 90%.
Yeah.
And then I went outside, and then I did like pull-ups and burpees over dumbbell, and like hang clean and jerks, because I couldn't take it from the floor. And at the end of that session, I couldn't lift up an empty barbell. And that was when I knew I had to get something looked at. Yeah. And I finally, I broke down. I told my mom, I was like, I was working with a sports nutritionist at the time. My whole eating was messed up. But I was working with him, and I mentioned briefly that my lower back had been giving me some trouble a month earlier. And then I told my mom, like, my back's not just hurting, it's killing me. And so we got that checked out. I went to the peds office at first, and then they told me 2 weeks off, which was something that I hadn't done in a very, very long time.
Really? All the way off?
The way off?
Nothing?
Like, I was like, I may have gotten a few sets of push-ups in here and there.
Man, yeah.
But, and so eventually, after the 2 weeks, the doctor said, okay, you can go back to, training lightly. And so I came back here, and we were doing overhead squats and push jerks. And I only used 45 pounds, with, the 15-pound bar and the 15s on the sides. And I was, once again, overdoing it. And I went home that night, and I couldn't sit in a chair, because my lower back, it wasn't, and throughout this time, it wasn't just that soreness pain, it was sharp pains. Almost, I want to say, it was near the middle of my lower back. And then I was just like, I was like, okay,
so what ended up being the diagnosis?
So we finally ended up getting the x-ray, and the x-ray ended up being a pars fracture, otherwise known as spondylolysis in my L3, which is pretty much, it's just like the little sliver of bone that's like in between your L3 and or in between your inner and outer spine and my L3. And that section had a little bitty fracture in it. And the other side was, and that was just on my right side, and the other side was about to fracture too. So he said, you're gonna take 2 months off. Hopefully you'll be back in 4 months. And then, this was in January. And he said, hopefully in 4 months, you'll be good. You're going to wear this brace. You can't. So my first question was, he said, you can't do this. You can't do this. You can't do this. I said, what can I do? And so he said, you can do calf raises. You can walk. I asked if I could do like some catching, hand work.
Yeah.
And he said, sure, as long as you're not moving your back. And so I did those things, and I did it every day. And
so then we flashed to you had surgery over this summer, right?
Yeah. Or not over this summer. So
it was
the long story short with that is I ended up getting tendonitis in my Achilles, and then from overdoing walking, and then I ended up getting carpal tunnel in my hands from doing too much schoolwork. And then basically I just didn't do a good job of recovering. And over the summer, I think we were trying to avoid surgery as much as possible, and that just didn't work. We tried everything. I stopped walking for a long period of time. It just didn't end up panning out. And it just never healed. So we finally, pulled the trigger, and I got surgery. It was for a cancellation, which they were shocked at because that almost never happens for them, especially at Hopkins. So I had surgery, got 2 screws put in.
Do you think some of that too is part of the combination of the initial, like, oh, this is impossible, there's no way I'm going to be able to do it?
Oh yeah, for sure.
But then in your own sort of ability to see, like, well, wait, no, am I just using that as an excuse?
Right.
And say, no, I have to do this.
Yeah.
Because what I would say is the interactions that we've had, and it's, again, makes sense that you would pick an organization and that it would be Gigi's Playhouse that would say yes after, because this is the second wall of awful.
Yeah.
Of reaching out to, what would you say, half a dozen to 10?
About
a dozen?
I would say half a dozen.
So a half a dozen things around the Annapolis area. Gigi's was the only one that got back to you.
Yeah.
And it kind of makes sense of a population who are fully capable, but always seem to have some sort of, Down syndrome I'm by no means an expert, but is something that people shrift those kids and that population, but there's nothing that they can't do.
Right.
There just might be need for a modification,
right,
or an adaptation,
exactly.
or something that facilitates still getting the same stimulus. Because I know when we initially had our first conversation, the first thing you said was, well, if I get the surgery early, I might be able to do the event. I might be able to work out and participate in the event. And I think what I said was, you're not allowed to participate in the event because you're running the event. And it was a good conversation that this actually is probably the best thing that could have happened for you.
Yeah.
In the diving world, in the Navy, you would fail an inspection if you were the supervisor of a dive side. So you have supervisor, tender, diver, you all have roles. And if you're doing a drill and you're going through an inspection and the inspection is on the supervisor, the side, basically the dive side passes, if the supervisor passes the drill, the second the supervisor puts his hands on a diver to fix a problem, other than to conduct a neurological exam, they fail that problem immediately. Because if I'm in the problem, looking at the problem, I can't see all of the other things that are going to have my attention. Right. And so that's immediately what I thought about. I was like, this injury was probably one of the best things that could have happened to him. Not to say, we don't want to be injured.
Well, that's the thing. Like, I think that truthfully, this was one of the best things that could have ever happened to me. And I mean that with like absolute, I'm completely genuine when I say that. there has been, you know, as much as it sucks to have your back broken for however long, you know, 8 months, and not being able to lift however long, you know, it's like, there's been so many things that one, I never would have had the time to do. And second, that I just never would have done. Like, as far as reading and mindfulness and all these different practices like that, I never would have gotten into. It's just a whole new world has just opened up to me. And, you know, I think, you know, there's, you know, I think a big part of it has just been, you know, the books that I've read. Chop Wood, Carry Water was a big staple. I've read that so many times. The Obstacle is the Way, Daily Stoic, all those books have, you know.
That is if any, I highly recommend, and I can't, all of a sudden I can't think of his name, Ryan, Obstacle is the Way, Ryan. I just had it and it went out of my brain. It'll come to me. Sorry to interrupt you. But that is, I highly recommend that book. The Daily Stoic is his Instagram. Like, they hijack some stuff, though. I say they do a good job of giving credit to quotes that are taken. And then I do like the way he paraphrases and his team paraphrase things sometimes and put them into a contemporary audience. But The Obstacle is the Way, as a text and as like a roadmap for how to approach obstacles, fits right in with Eric's Wall of Awful, fits right in with this conversation. Like, guess what? Thank goodness you have the inner, like, you now, it's actually, the Marines have a saying too of one of their key infantry techniques is this term, move to contact. So basically you're in the woods and you don't know exactly where the enemy is. So they go on patrol, and like, they just go on patrol in an eastward direction. And when they take contact from the enemy, they turn into the contact and move. Because now they know where the enemy is. Now, granted, there's more nuance to that. I mean, sometimes they do just run directly into bullets because they're Marines. But like, the idea is they remove all doubt of where their objective is. So the obstacle is the way, like, the obstacle is the thing that will clarify all the other noise around. Well, what should I do? Should I participate? Well, how many people? Should I go hard? Well, maybe I'll go hard. Who should be my partner? Blah, blah, blah. No. You don't have to worry about any of that. Your job is to run this event, and to run it so that you support Gigi's and their people and what that initiative is. And so sorry, I totally interrupted you on that. I love, I just had it again and I can't think of his last name, but anyway.
Ryan something.
Yes. That's awesome. So when you linked up with Gigi's Playhouse, how'd that conversation go? How has it been? What are you excited about with them? How do you see it going? You know what I mean? Like, what kind of, I mean, and I guess, and also, like, what do you want out of the workout itself? You know, like, why did you pick Fairwinds? Like, what in your mind, like, when you see it happening in there, and for those listening, I'm pointing through the wall into the gym. When you see it happening in there on Saturday the 20th, how do you see it going?
Right. So,
and I don't mean, like, you don't have to tell me what the WOD is, because we haven't even thought of that yet.
That's a loaded question. I think so. For starters, I met with the Gigi's Playhouse charity fundraising, and I met with a couple other of their representatives over at one of their events. There was just like a kids pumpkin painting that they had over at one of their Annapolis Playhouse, and that was you know, what excites me about them is, you know, they're just, you know, all of them are they're
Brian Holiday.
Boom, got it. I was gonna say Flaherty, but that's the guy who does the Trained podcast.
You're right.
No, I completely get it. I would have done the same. I would have done the same thing.
I just had to stop thinking. I was thinking about the pumpkin painting event. I had like images of kids painting pumpkins.
And then Holiday.
It did.
Oh my goodness.
All right, keep going.
So Gigi's Playhouse, they're 99% volunteer based, and so everybody in that organization, pretty much, they're passionate about what they do. And I think that if we were to pick anybody, then those are the people that I would have wanted. I wanted people, you know, I think a lot of the other organizations I was doing it from were, you know, more some of those people were just doing it to get a paycheck instead of, you know, supporting the nonprofit. But I think, you know, why they're such a good fit is just they're genuine people, they're good people, they care about the cause, and they're open to new ideas. And I think a big part of that is they're constantly, you know, they like partnering with local businesses, and Fairwinds being a local business, you know, that's just one of the reasons why, again, serendipity, how that kind of all worked out. And then as far as Fairwinds goes, you know, I've been with Fairwinds for,
God, you guys were
since it was before it was Fairwinds.
Yeah, Move, Learn, Succeed.
Move,
you guys
Learn,
were.
Succeed.
So I'm trying to think that first. Yeah, that was so that would have been summer of 16.
Yeah,
was the first one that Eric did with you guys. Because you did not do it at Old Bay or Annapolis. Because the twins did it and Andrew did it when Nicole ran it out of CrossFit Annapolis. But did you come up to Bay Dogs?
No.
Okay.
No, I think I was 10 when I first started that.
All right, so
and
that makes and like it was you, it was Finn, the twins, Colin, Aaron. I think that was the
Alec,
group.
yeah, Alec, and then
that was the group in the
and
driveway.
I think the Max Haynes and Reed.
Yes, that's right. That's right. And then the next year was the summer of 17, and that one was a little bit more figured out. Yeah, and that was also the thing that got Eric fired. Let's say it clarified the end of his relationship with the former gym, which opened the door for he and I to start this party. Yeah. And that's when we moved into here. And yes, you were, so I would say definitely you were an OG, one of the first you were a beast before we even called them Creek Beasts. Yeah. So
shoot, what did we call them? I don't even think we had
we didn't really have a name. Yeah. It was because it was still under the MLS, the Move, Learn, Succeed tag. So when it did become, it may have because it was we were thinking about Fairwinds as the name, and we actually wanted Fairwinds Back Creek Fairwinds or back CrossFit Back Creek or something like that, and it was all going to be Creek people names, and it actually came from because Nicole and I were like driving in the car thinking about names. We're like, we're kind of like, you know, these like weird insects and things, and it's like this hodgepodge of people in the garage, and it's like, you know, and we're kind of by this like muddy creek. She's like, you got like, you know, pretty people like Rob and Allie, and then you got like you and Drew who are kind of gross and, you know, dirty all the time, but you all get to hang out together, sort of like what grows around the edges of a creek. And so I was like, yeah, it is. We're like, we didn't get. So when you submit for affiliation to CrossFit, you have to give them 3 names as options. So it was CrossFit Back Creek, CrossFit on the Creek, Fairwinds CrossFit. And they gave us Fairwinds CrossFit. And so that's where if you ever like, where does all the hashtag on the creek, hashtag off the creek, hashtag creek people have to, because that's still us like backdooring our branding.
I knew that. That was
and we're right on the creek. So
here we are.
And so cool. So you thought of us and it fit.
And it was like, you know, I'm good friends with both of your sons, and I figured I could get in contact with you guys relatively easily. I've been here for so long, you know, I know a lot of people, a lot of the people here.
You know one of the coaches?
I know one of the coaches.
It's his sister, by the way, that's Sophia, for those that are tortured by her at 7 a.m. and sometimes at night.
And then, you know, I also saw what you guys did with the Out Foundation, with Alex.
Yes.
And I saw that and I was like, you know what, that was kind of, and then Barbells for Boobs. And, you know, all the events that you guys have put on in the past, I was just like, man, like that really seems like something that could work. And then, as far as the event goes, you know, I just wanted the subject of, support for special needs individuals does hold you know, a significant amount of, you know that it's significant to me. And I think, you know, I've you know, one of my neighbors who's moving away in the next couple of weeks, you know, he is special needs. Actually, both of their sons are. One of them has autism and the other one, I'm not sure what he has, but they're just lovely people and they're so nice and so fun to hang around with. And I think a lot of the times when in my own personal experience, I feel like I wasn't my most genuine self, or I wasn't as inclusive as I had liked to be in some of the environments where I was with some special needs individuals. And I think that not only is it this whole process has been a remedy for me to kind of understand these people, interact with them more, but I just want to get that message of that it's what all CrossFit is about: community.
I like the way you said that before too. Yeah.
People better, and we can understand where they're coming from, who they are, and really just for these individuals specifically, how capable they are, who they are, how strong they are.
We all need to move.
Just
not quite as much as
not
some were in that time.
Yeah, not right now. Not yet. Open 2022.
There you go.
I'm coming.
I like it.
I think when we do that, it just promotes such a sense of community.
Yeah.
And it's just, I think if I could see everybody, especially in like a team style workout, if we could get everybody working together, and then just, as one collective Creek people, that it just makes my heart it's exuberant. It's whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
It's
empowering.
Yeah. It's empowering. And it's a vision that, I said, like, ever since this happened, it's been a vision that's kind of been in my head, and that's just like, I've written it off. I've done all this, but I think, if anybody can do it, I think that Fairwinds can.
Yeah.
And the team that we have here and the people that we have here, just like, I couldn't, if it were, I don't think there's another place that I would have chosen, whether it be CrossFit New England could have been down the street. I don't think I would have chosen them over Fairwinds.
Well, I appreciate that. I mean, they are kind of stuck up a little bit. Just kidding. Sorry, Ben, if you listen to this podcast.
Well, I mean,
I know.
Poor Katrin.
We didn't make morning chalk ups. Did you see that article they had about the podcasts? The CrossFit podcasts that you should be listening to or something. It's like all the podcasts that are the podcasts. Yeah. And I'm like, well, maybe we made it. I'm like, well, they didn't call, so I guess we didn't make it. Yeah.
Chasing Excellence, though, good podcast.
It is a good podcast. He's all right. They do good stuff. I've stopped listening, but that's okay. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. I would be offended if you tried to go anywhere else, because I take I have a deep sense of jealousy if anyone got to have as much fun with you as we're gonna have.
Oh my God.
But dude, you make a really good point about that. Is one of the things early on in my CrossFit experience and career is spent a lot of time in places in the world working with organizations and environments where no was the first answer. I always tell the joke of, and this is not to offend French people because they're not really, I'm sure it's not a French thing, but it's just, it makes for a bad accent, but and it's like the Austin Powers movie where like, you ask the first time, like, oh, can we get potable water on the pier? No, it's impossible. I cannot do it. It's impossible. No. And you're like, it was in the contracting agreement though, and it said it was right here. He's like, well, it is impossible, but I don't know. Maybe I will have to look. I don't know. Well, it says you're going to deliver it when we arrive. Fine, I will do it, but it is not going to be easy, and you will owe me. And so that idea of like the first response, working with the Army, working with all is no. Like most no. And I started working with CrossFit people, first CrossFit Oahu in Hawaii, and then like we'll get to here to Annapolis, working with like Aaron Ferner and DRT at CrossFit Annapolis. Yes, I was doing a fundraiser, and I was like, hey, can I, yes. Yeah. What do you need? And I'm like, I just need a place. Easy. We'll put it out. Do you need any, marketing? What do you want? What do you need? Yeah. What do you want from us? And I was like, oh my God, and all the time. I'd get that every time I'd go somewhere. I'd be like, can I? Yes. Because it's a place of empowerment where if you lead with, I just want to have fun. I don't really need anything from you. I just need a space where I can move with another group of like-minded people who like to move and move well and have fun and smile and sweat a little bit. Invariably, the answer is always yes.
Yeah.
And so when you came to me, I was like, yes, this sounds awesome. And then it becomes a puzzle. And then it's just that fun. And I mean, we were over here, we were over here. Right. And then at some point, like, I feel guilty that like I can't bring to bear. But then you have to remember too, no, what the mindfulness, does come into play. Mm-hmm. What will be. And I was getting nervous when you were like, nobody's getting back to me. I'm like, oh, who are we gonna reach out to?
Right.
And then Gigi shows up, it works out, and it's a perfect fit. And I'm actually not even scheduling difficulties. I'm not even gonna be here, which I have a little bit of FOMO about. But again, the team, you are strong enough and capable enough that it is going to be awesome. Mm-hmm. And in the end, the intent and the purpose is so clear and so noble and simple. Show up, have fun, be a place where people can come and feel comfortable, and support an organization that is all about making a place that is safe, comfortable, and about being available to those who need it. Like, oh, okay, that's an easy thing to support. So I'm excited, dude. This is freaking on. This was really freaking fun. Some of the details for folks. So the information on this, Saturday, 11/20, Saturday, November 20th, will be the event, 7 and 8 a.m. Classes will still be the same per se. The event will start at 7. First heat will go probably around 7:30-ish. You're looking at anywhere between a 15 to 20 minute workout at the most. Little transition. Next heat will go, get warmed up, probably go again at the bottom of that next hour. And then people can hang out. People can come early if they want and watch the first group go and then be in the second group. It's kind of that fluid. But what it sets up is if somebody doesn't pay attention to any of our social medias, any of the stuff on SugarWOD, doesn't read the newsletter, doesn't pay attention to their coach's workout brief, doesn't look at any signage that may or may not be posted in the gym, and shows up on Saturday meetings like, oh, I had no idea anything was going on, you'll still get a good workout in the same time frame that you would have if you just showed up at 8 a.m. Saturday class anyway. It is free to show up and participate. However, there will be a clear link for donations to Gigi's in the event registration, as well as some fun and unique swag that will be designed and available. But that is still TBD. That's to be determined for you folks that don't do acronyms. And we'll be putting that stuff up there. So those are some of the rough deets. If you got questions, you can fire them off to us at the gym and ask. This week, mine's super easy, brother. My gratitude's you. A combination of you asking. I have had so much fun coming over to your house and chatting about this stuff, talking about mid-planning and initial planning conferences, showing you my nerd spreadsheets. It's like, this is the fun stuff. This is what we do. So I appreciate it.
Mine is right back at you. Like you were my daily gratitude for, I can't even count how many days now. I lost track. But it's just like, and Fairwinds overall, just the fact that I'm able to do something with this for, like I consider pretty much everybody at Fairwinds as a friend. And the fact that we get to do this with just a bunch of friends and do something awesome like this, it's just like, what else can you ask for? And it's like, it's just, I think ever since that first meeting, it was just like, man, like I am like, how did I get so lucky? Like how
you keep showing up.
How did I
keep showing up?
Like it is this. I'm just so grateful for the opportunity to do that, and just it's just the opportunity to help out, the opportunity to do this with you guys, and all that. It's just
heck yeah. Well, cool. This is gonna be a good time. And if not, man, we'll do a really hard workout, and it'll be what it'll be. Yeah. That's like, I remember Andy always, you know it. Have you met Andy? Buddy Andy Hunt? Yeah. We always joke whenever we would be doing comp train workouts and something, and like we just get our butts handed to us or whatever. And if it didn't have burpees in it, he would just look at me like, hey, at least there weren't any burpees. And one time he said that, and then he had not looked at the whole thing. And there was a 5-minute tester of 50 burpees. So it was 50 burpees for time, capped 5 minutes. And all I did was I like pulled it up on my phone and I pushed it over to him, and he just,
oh my goodness.
I think that was the beginning of the end of him following confidence. So at least there won't be, maybe will be burpees in it. Of course there's gonna be burpees in it. But yeah, what were you gonna say?
It's funny, have you ever heard the story about when the blind man walked into a bar? So he walked into a bar.
I like where you're going with this.
He walked into a bar, and then a chair, and then a table, and then another person, and then the waitress who was carrying drinks. And that's what happened.
Eric would be so proud of you. All right, folks. On that, we will see you
on the creek.